Call the meeting of the Board of Commissioners to order for the October 15th, 2014 meeting.
Commissioner Kenney is on her way. She's right around the corner.
Okay. First item on the agenda is public input from anybody. I will report that Commissioner Babson is at a funeral over in Vermont. Commissioner Kenney, we've just got word that she is on her way.
Can we just wait?
Do you have anything to add to the meeting as far as the minutes are concerned? Can't approve any because there's only one of us here.
Yeah, when... Let's see. I guess we, well, the October 8th ones we'll have to hold till next week because Commissioner Kenney wasn't here last week.
Right.
And then we could approve the first when she comes. No, because you weren't here that week. Yeah, let's just wait.
Yeah.
Till next week, we'll have to do 4 sets then.
Right.
Altogether, so.
I do have a letter of intent addressed to Mary Belecz, B-E-L-E-C-Z, Department of Administration Services, Bureau of Planning and Management. The letter of intent, please consider this a letter of interest in locating the Department of Corrections, Probation and Parole Office at the Carroll County Complex. We have received a RFP to renovate the old nursing home to meet the department's requirements. The RFP is to construct 4 office spaces. 3 will be open, one private. You would have your own private entrance and space for storage plus air conditioning. If you have any questions, please contact the Carroll County Business Office. Sincerely, Carroll County Board of Commissioners. I noticed that in the Conway Daily Sun, there was a request for a letter of intent for the Department of Corrections, Probation and Patrol Office. So this is to notify them that we are interested in having them present at our facility. As far as I know, Commissioner Babson has not made he made a contact with Department of Administrative Services, but they have not set a time when they can get together to negotiate what it would cost to renovate the space and what the administrative services would pay for their rental. So we'll have to wait to hear from Commissioner Babson on that. Good morning, Commissioner Kenney.
Good morning.
Commissioner Babson has left me a couple of questions. Commissioner Kenney, have you done Jason Henry evaluation? Yeah.
I don't think we have an evaluation of it, did we?
We did one last week.
Last week?
Yeah.
Oh, I was not present then.
But you had gotten a
Then I will,
reminder.
Just give him mine then.
Do you have anything to report on any meetings, Commissioner Kenney? Or anything since our last meeting?
Let's see. Oh, I had a question. Did any of the commissioners make it to the New Hampshire Association of Counties? There was one in October, right? Was it 2 weeks ago? Because someone was going to ask about employee compensation.
All right.
So I just want to know if someone,
I didn't go, so
So-
Commissioner Babson did. We'll have to wait and see what
okay.
he did. Anything else?
I had two things.
Hearing none.
Yeah, wait, I have another question.
Okay.
The non-public hearing was recorded by Winnet. I just want to know if she has some notes and the transcribe.
The non-public meeting of last week?
The non-public hearing about, the Diane Gaynor. It was a hearing. And I just want to know if she has a transcribe or if she has some note. No, she was not there. That was another one. It was a public, but a non-public one.
You're talking about the non-public
The
hearing?
non-public, yes.
With Diane Gaynor?
Yes.
We didn't have one.
Yes, we had one. We had a non-public meeting with her. Yeah, before the public
You
hearing.
got the date?
I need to look it up, which date.
All I know is we had a public meeting.
Because I asked Cheryl the notes if she has anything, and she said no, she was not here, but Winnet was here, and she recorded that. And I said I need a transcript or the recording. And I
If it
didn't
was
get
a
that.
if it was a non-public meeting I'm thinking of, we started off and I asked the question whether she wanted to have it non-public or public, and she said she wanted to have it public. So we
That
canceled
was-
that meeting.
So
was
that
it.
was one, and then she came also before, and she had her other issues what she brought up.
Go ahead, Ed.
In the morning of that hearing, you began the meeting, you went into non-public. So there was a short non-public before that. You left everybody in the room, you went across the hall to do a non-public, and then came back.
You're talking about which
With
day? Last week?
Diane Gaynor.
No, but it was also one time that she came here with her attorney, and she was for a while in non-public. That is why we heard her side, remember? And later we asked her again, and then she decided to do one public. Then we canceled that, and later she came again, and we had a public hearing. So
Okay,
I
you're
will look,
talking
I
about-
will look up the date.
You're talking about the first
Yeah,
non-public
it's
meeting.
it's probably the first
Okay.
one.
Okay. Okay. Howie, you're first on the agenda, so bring your guest up.
Well, I have a couple of things for you, but nothing more important than introducing you to our new Director of Nursing Services, Lori Tatro, Commissioner
Lori.
Chair David Sorensen, Commissioner Asha Kenney.
Lori, good morning and
Welcome to your new position.
Thank you.
Lori comes to us from, most recently, from the New Hampshire Board of Nursing, but also has extensive experience as Director of Nursing in multiple long-term care facilities. So we are very encouraged and looking forward to her joining us. She started yesterday.
Okay.
Good. Second day on the job.
Yes.
huh?
Now, with your permission, I'd like to take a photograph
Sure.
of the commissioners welcoming her, because that's, so Lori, if I can ask you to get behind.
Sure.
Okay, we get the flag, we get the seal, all we need now are the smiles, 1, 2, 3. We'll do that again, smile, 1, 2.
Person.
Yeah.
Well, it's good for the community to
Nice meet
know.
you. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Oh, Lori, you can join me up here. Have just really two brief things to update you on, and they're both good news. The first one, I think you know Norma Tavares, our accounts payable. Norma is our accounts payable person in our purchasing.
Yes,
person
yes,
next
yes.
door.
And she's what?
No, she's purchasing and accounts payable.
Okay.
But this applies to her role in purchasing. We had a problem in the kitchen last week where the meat grinder of one of the big Hobart mixers died. And thanks to the efforts of Norma, we saved $1,615. She found a used replacement up Conway way instead of having to buy a new one. And it saved a tremendous amount of money. She was able to get it in North Conway for $250 instead of spending $1,865. And it's a wonderful savings. I mean, it's a real opportunity. Rob couldn't be more pleased. I mean, it's equal quality, but a fraction of the cost.
Good.
And
That's good.
my other note of thanks is to Cheryl Laurent and the Commissioner's office downstairs, who's coordinating and heading up, placing the request for proposal for the security system upgrade that we're looking for, and also adding it to the website, confirming what we agreed on last week.
Okay, yeah.
But that's pretty much it. It's been a
Okay,
Wide week.
how's your budget coming?
budget. In fact, we have pretty much 3/4 of the way done with the capital budget, which is the more extensive part. Paula is working on the operating part, but I've actually tried to factor out going out some 20 years with the capital budget. Because we have to start looking at things, even though it's a new building, we have a head start.
Yeah,
But at some point, we have to replace carpet, wall coverings, equipment, air handling. Virtually every system in the place has a useful life, and we need to anticipate it. Some of the easier items are more like vehicles. We know how many miles and how many years and at what point we might have to look at them.
all right.
But right now, I'm in the midst of looking at the more, the less glamorous aspects, like, paint and carpet and the like.
Yeah, so Bob is putting together a maintenance record, at least a 5-year plan?
In fact, we're taking out 20. Because most things, when it's new, will go the 5 years. The rolling stock has the 7-year useful life that we'll be coming up to. But we're going to be taking out a full 20 years for you. So, I mean, it's a little bit speculative once you start getting to 10 and 15 years. But at least the items are there, so each year, when we go back to update it, we won't be reinventing the wheel, and we can start forecasting
Yeah.
more
yeah.
accurately.
When will you have your budget ready?
Capital budget or operating budget?
Both.
Capital budget will be ready by this time next week. I want to confirm with Paula before going on the hook.
Yeah.
Though Paula has that pretty much under control. Interestingly, there aren't a whole lot of changes that we're looking at, because we realized that we're looking at a budget cap. So,
Mhm.
we realize that we have some constraints. So it's just, I don't expect you're going to see a lot of wild and wonderful changes. So.
Okay. So you could present your budget next week?
Capital budget, yes. I don't want to speak for.
Okay.
I don't want to speak for Paula. I don't want to put her in
Okay, okay.
And that might be a bit aggressive.
All right, let's start working next week on the capital.
Okay, that will have the first draft for you.
Okay.
That I
Okay.
can do.
Very good. You see any changes that you think you're going to be making as a DON? Second day on the
Second
job?
day.
Second day on the job. Well, we are having a meeting on staffing with Lynette this afternoon to take a
Mhm.
look at. There seems to be a lot of per diem staff filling in
Yeah.
positions, and just looking at it, appears that maybe there was some full-time or part-time positions that have just
Mhm.
been filled with per diem and not filled as part-time or full-time positions. So I'm going to take a look at that today.
Mhm.
And see if there were open positions that were never filled, and
Yeah.
see if any of the part-time per diem people would want to go into those. If not, if they're open positions, post those positions. So
Mhm.
staffing we're looking at.
Tell us a little bit about your experience on the Board of Nursing, and what functions does that provide?
My role at the Board of Nursing was program specialist. So my main function, I actually was responsible for nursing assistant practice amongst the state. So that was practice, all the educational programs, all the trainings
Mhm.
in the state, including the trainings that Mountain View offered to community nursing assistant M&A programs. So I traveled all over the state looking at programs.
Okay. When a nursing home has a problem with a nurse, and it gets reported to the Board of Nursing, what happens? What takes place?
What happens is the complaint comes in, we look at the complaint.
Mhm.
On the complaint form, it asks for witnesses. So we contact the individual who's been, the complaint has been filed against. If they haven't written a statement, they've given the opportunity to write statement to the board, as well as we notify all witnesses for a statement once all that information has come into the board. Sometimes it takes a while. We send out notifications that we haven't received statement. Do they wish to do that?
Mhm.
So the process can take On average, I'd say 6 to 9 months.
6 to 9 months.
And it's
Okay.
prioritized. So it's prioritized, so if it was
Mhm.
say it was a drug diversion, that obviously rises to the top. Or if there was, actual harm to a resident, that rises to the top of maybe a nurse that's been reported for 3 med errors where there was no harm to the patient.
Yeah.
So it's prioritized,
So
but on
what happens
average,
during that 9 months? I mean, what happens there, but what happens here? That nurse stays on administrative leave
If-
until the Board of Nursing takes any action?
They're still licensed until it goes through the process. So they would have an option, once we receive or the board would receive the information, they can either file a settlement agreement or go to public hearing. And if they choose to go to public hearing, that could be a couple months out, but until they have that option to go through the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless the board does emergency hearing to restrict practice, so if they did divert drugs or if there was actual harm, the board may decide to do emergencies hearing and pull practice, restrict their
So the
practice
board
until
can-
hearing. They
The board
can,
can take the license?
action, they can, yep,
But they can appeal it?
they can appeal it.
I do have good news about the Board of Nursing. We've had, unfortunately, recently, 2 instances where, in situations outside of work, there were arrests made involving potential drug use.
Yeah.
And the Board of Nursing negotiated with the 2 staff members to voluntarily suspend their practice. These were LNAs, which keeps, because we were in this awkward spot because there's an allegation but not a conviction.
Yeah.
So pending the result of legal action, they agreed not to work in a licensed capacity, but the Board of Nursing jumped on that immediately,
Oh.
and it was very much appreciated.
Okay.
I've never seen such response in 2 separate cases.
Yeah. How is the Board of Nursing tied in with the survey team? Are they tied in at all with the survey team?
Licensing survey,
Yeah, the ones that come around and inspect our nursing home.
yeah. Board of Nursing is state, really, they're administratively attached. So if there was concerns, the attachment is really through the nurse aid registry. So if the surveys come in here in Mountain View or another facility and they find a substandard survey, they notify us because then they lose their ability to maybe to do clinical for nursing assistant programs. But the board, unless there was nursing issues and they felt they needed to report a nurse for a practice
Yeah.
issue, we don't really work with them other than registry issues.
So the Board of Nursing requires so many credits in order to keep their license?
Yep.
And how is that, what kind of advanced education programs do they take to keep their license?
They
for
have
credits?
to, a nurse has to work 400 hours of active in practice under that license within 4 years, and they have to do 30 hours of continued education. The board doesn't identify where that education needs to be and in what areas. The nurse, it's really left up to the discretion of the nurse to
Mhm.
do that. And nursing assistants have to do, 200 hours within 2 years, and 24 hours of continued education, 12 per year, under the 803 regulations and CMS. They get that 12 hours through a long-term care facility.
And what kind of subjects and how would they go about getting that?
They would get that if it wasn't provided, so nursing assistants that work in maybe home care or assisted living that don't follow the CMS requirements of the 12 hours, they would have to, if they didn't get that in their facility, they would have to seek that, just like a nurse would have to do that on their own, so there's some responsibility of the licensee.
Mhm.
But most of them do it, the basic infection control, really what's involved in the position that they hold.
Okay, good.
Dementia care is a
Good.
big one.
Thank you for your
you know.
information. Anybody got any questions regarding DON? If not?
I will remind you that when you walk into Mountain View and you see this wonderful new fall centerpiece on the main table there, all the materials and time were donated by the daughter of a resident. In fact, Melinda Sayer Bill Sayers' daughter, constructed a beautiful fall centerpiece yesterday. And so it was very, very generous and kind of her, and very talented young lady.
Regarding the outdoor entrance, you have a dedication coming up on November 6th, or
Well,
Veterans?
Whenever Veterans Day is celebrated.
November 6th
Is it
is
6th?
Veterans Day.
Okay, that's,
Um,
they have promised me, now this is the bronze plaque people, that they will have the plaques here prior to that.
Oh, okay.
So until I actually see them,
Yeah.
I don't really want to schedule. They've promised me that there's plenty of time, and they were ordered weeks ago. So, but we've ordered round markers for each of the services, actually with using monies that were left by Harrison Moore, for the purpose. So we'll
Yep.
be able
Yep.
to finish off that area.
Okay,
So that is the plan,
okay.
but I'll feel better when we have the bronze plaques in hand.
All right, if it's on the 6th, I've got another engagement. I'm a veteran myself, and I gotta participate someplace else on Veterans Day, but if you could hold it, well, it's up to you.
Well,
I'm sure maybe the other two commissioners could be in attendance.
okay, because
That
there's no reason
dedication.
why we can't have it,
Yeah.
for our own day, and
Yeah,
which might actually be better attended if it were the day after.
okay.
Or we
Yeah.
could,
Yeah.
we could schedule it for a Wednesday too.
Might be nice to have a color guide.
That would be perfect. I mean, that would be,
You could get
if
one.
we could get one of the VFWs or American Legions, or
Yeah,
I know there are some Marine detachments
yeah.
that might be willing to.
The other thing that might be nice, and that is if you could get something to go around the edge of that area, like the hostas that were over at the old nursing home. I don't know what happened to those where the wings were taken down.
They're still there. In fact, the demolition people have been
But
very
they-
good about protecting the garden area.
They might be, it might be good to put a circle of those, that variegated hosta. It needs something. It doesn't have a curbing there, but it needs a little sprucing up.
I agree. I think that's,
Um,
it continues to be a work in progress, and
Yeah,
those might very well, if we don't have enough from the old nursing home, might be something that come spring we'd be able to find that there'd be people willing to donate.
yeah, yeah. I would think the maintenance crew may not be right out straight at this time of the year, but maybe some of those hostas could be dug up and planted all around the edge before the dedication takes place.
Well, I don't know if we have enough variegated hosta to go around the edge. I think there's at least
It's a good sized area.
there's at least a dozen plants. It would take quite a few to get around there.
Yep.
Because I have asked Bob about taking some of the variegated hosta, and under the porte cochere, the overhang, there's one portion of it there that we want to fill out as well. But the idea of long-term of being able
Yeah.
to circle that area would be,
I was thinking of hosta because it dies down in the fall. And when they plow, it's
hardy
it's not
stuff.
going to affect them because they're underground.
No, that's hardy stuff. You
So-
can't hurt them.
Yeah, yeah. Ashley, you got any questions?
No,
Okay,
Okay, Commissioners, thank you very much.
thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just looking at the action items. Regarding the financial audit for 2010, we're still waiting for information on the 2008-2009 retirement, which has to come from Concord. Apparently, they don't have enough people or something down there, but they promised the auditing firm that they would have the information by the end of last week, but I have not heard any update.
Did you say 8 and 9?
Yeah, they wanted the retirement payments for the year 2008, 2009. so that they could do the 2010. Commissioner Kenney, did you look on the non-public session tracking form as to where we stand and updated on that?
Yeah, I believe I reported 2 weeks ago about the September one, yet we have to approve a few of those. And one that needs to be done and approved is one of August 6th.
August 6th?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember what the September date
we
was?
already had, we had Clausen also here, so a few of those stuff is legal advice, what we're not going to put in, but we're just going to put in the personal issue.
Okay.
What was your question?
What was the date for the September one?
September 3rd, September 18, and September 24.
Wow.
And if you have the notes from, did you have non-public last week? You had no non-public?
I don't,
think so.
Okay.
Oh, wait, yes, you did evaluation.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chandler's evaluation.
we did, right. You need to do that one also.
So if you have anything from last week, then you should add that.
Okay. I did ask regarding the administration parking lot. I did ask Jerry Gagney. He had done it 4 or 5 years ago, and he did give me the figures, and I think it was in the 70s. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it seems like it was in the $70,000 range to redo the parking lot out here. But I have that sitting on my desk.
What was 76 you said?
I think it was $70,000,
Oh, 70.
but that's an old estimate, so I'm sure it's increased since then. Okay, department head evaluations, we've done Mountain View, and we've done the interim superintendent, that's complete. Nepotism policy, you gonna work on that, Commissioner?
Yes, I brought it up, and I think I brought it up a while ago also.
Have you got a policy?
No, I don't have one.
You don't have-
I will see what the other counties are doing.
Regarding the hoop house assembly, apparently that's complete.
Last week, Will had indicated that he wasn't sure if electricity was going to be hooked up this fall or in the spring.
All right,
Do you know
Right.
what the final decision, or he still hasn't?
no, I don't.
Okay,
And I'm not sure about the water either.
okay.
There should be water out there, so that shouldn't be a problem.
All right, so I'll just put it as complete then on here, or?
As far as construction of the
Okay.
facility itself is complete,
So the owner of Ledgewood Farm can get paid through the grant money now that it's finished?
that's a good question. I have not seen, have you seen the payment for the hoop house?
The payment for the hoop house, no.
That doesn't come from us anyway.
It
comes from
comes
the
right from them?
Conservation District.
Oh, okay, all right. So I'll just put it as
It
complete then.
was a grant, so they handle that. We don't,
Okay,
should be no money exchanged there.
okay.
Loam sales, I thought we had talked about $20 a yard. That we would load. I don't know about the green dump truck, other than last week it was gonna be potted out.
Okay.
I don't know about the managed care letter requested by Chandler. Do you recall what that was about? Do you recall what that was about?
No.
Managed care letter.
Just find find the minutes. The minutes from that meeting say that the nursing home affiliates group is asking legislators to delay the implementation of the managed care changes.
Yeah, and I think at the last meeting, which I wasn't there, Commissioner Babson was there. I have to wait for a report from him, but I believe it was extended a year.
Oh, okay.
By the director of the Health and Human Resources Department. No further contact on the trail project. I guess that's it for the action items.
Do you know if that, the addition on the
Pig barn?
pig barn, if that's gone out, the RFP yet?
I don't know.
Or where that is? Okay.
I'm going to check on that right after this meeting. Right now, there'll be 11 people that have signed up to attend the annual meeting of the New Hampshire Association of Counties Conference at the Mountain View Grand Hotel.
And is that next week? When is that? It's in
October
October, right?
26th through the 28th.
October 26th.
Through the 28th, yeah.
So 26 is a Sunday.
Yep.
So then it's 27 and 28. 26 is usually for the host, right? The people who organize it. I think they going a little bit earlier to set it up.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, the actual meeting
So
starts
we are going
on
at
Monday.
27.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Okay, we can't do any of the minutes because either I wasn't here or last week, Asha, you weren't here, so we can't take any action on the last 2 weeks of minutes. Do we have anything else to be brought before the meeting today?
Yes, I just want to bring something up about if the HR sent letters out to employees. I know that they put CC on it. I will not sign any letter, and I don't think they can put my name on if they put CC and they don't give me actually a copy of it, because CC means that you CC the person get a copy, and we know we had a few instances, we had conversations about, but they CC, they put commissioners on it, and I don't get a copy, or they say you cannot have a copy. They need to put then the two other commissioners' name on it, but I know one that they put my name on it, that they CC commissioners, and I don't get a copy.
Okay.
And I'd like to bring up another thing. If you look at the performance audit, they recommended that administrative assistant is doing the minutes. What he meant is doing the public minutes. And now we're still losing money because Commissioner Babson said that she help out with a non-public and not a public. Now we're still paying a person now $130 every time she comes, The meeting is very short today. Another day it was 45 minutes. One time she did a minute, just watching the video. I have to look if she put in for that. We're still losing money every time because now we're still paying somebody to do it. We could have Shelley Laurent doing the public minutes. That is what he said. That is what the performance audit recommended.
Okay.
So we're paying for a few minutes now, $130, right?
That's correct.
And my second question
But
is,
before you leave that, I would say that you have every opportunity to add additional things to the minutes. If you would like to have someone come in, a department head, or anyone else on the campus here, if you'd want to have somebody come in, I've given you plenty of opportunity to add to the agenda, so don't say that it's short. You could add more to it if you wanted to. And you have
First-
never added anything to the agenda.
first you said that I can add anything to the minutes. You mean add anything to the agenda?
Yeah, agenda,
Yeah,
correct.
okay. Well, sometimes you ask me, like in the past, if that person has to come or not. And I said yes or no. But I always said, years ago, if you don't really have an agenda and there were no action items taken, I think it is a waste, like today, that we just have to come to the meeting. I think if there are actions, things needs to be done, then it's okay to call the meeting. You can just also post it like other counties are doing, that we meet if something comes up. Because we're really not voting and doing anything today, so I really think it is a waste. If we have a good full agenda and we need to take action, or even if it is another day, if things needs to be done or things are coming up, action, you can call a meeting. But like today, I think it is really a waste.
If you had notified me earlier, we could have canceled today's meeting.
You know
I didn't
what?
know whether you apparently told one of the secretaries you might be here and you might not be here. And then yesterday you came in and said, yes, you'd be here. So it sort of leaves things up in the air. I knew Commissioner Babson, he told me last week he was not going to be here. But if you had told me last Friday that you weren't going to be here, we would have canceled it.
No, it doesn't leave thing up the air, because you could say there is no agenda really. I stopped in yesterday because I didn't receive any email, no agenda, so I didn't know if there is a meeting or
should.
not. I didn't receive anything, and I came and I saw the agenda, I said there's really no item on it. So you should say if there is nothing on it, we cancel it, and not saying, oh, if you are here or if you're not here.
Okay. You have any other comments?
That was it for today.
Okay, I would then open it up for any public input.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
But you know what? Public input, she is the minute taker right now. Why is she speaking in public input? She shouldn't be.
She's
It is
looking
for the public,
I
but
would
she is
assume she's
now.
looking for clarification. Go
I'll ask-
ahead, Melissa.
I'll ask you after the meeting in private. How's that?
Is it regards to
Nope.
the minutes?
Nope, I just had a question about a process.
Okay.
Thank you.
No public input? Yes, Ed.
First, I just want to say that if somebody who is an employee has a question, if it's processed, the proper Robert's Rule of Order would be a point of information, and then she should be allowed to ask a point of information.
Mm-hmm.
That would be up to you. The Grant Review Committee has not completed their work on the two grants. The first grant application was for the radar detectors,
Right.
and I don't know if you need this original back. I have copies. We're still going to review it and issue a report, but we don't want to hold up the process. And the other one was the Department of Homeland Security for the consoles. No, I'm sorry, the communication system. So I'm going to hand them back to you.
And you haven't had time to research it?
Well, we began, but we're not ready to give you a report yet. But this is basically you've authorized the beginning of the application, not the acceptance of the money.
Okay,
So we still have to work this process out because I don't believe there's a formal process for grant review at this time
yeah.
that's really existing. So we're starting new territory here. So I just want to make sure you have this back. I don't know if you need its original because I have the original copies you handed me.
Did you make a copy of it?
Yes, we have copies.
Yeah, I'll take the original back then.
And I believe Commissioner Babson had a question about the relevant RSAs that relate to the public hearings when you have an added revenue of a grant, and it's RSA 32:5. And that RSA kicks in when you have any added revenue by a grant after the budget hearing has occurred. So if any money comes in as revenue after the budget is looked at, you need to have a separate hearing. That's what that is for.
Okay.
Because I don't know if the Highway Safety Project grant or the Homeland Security grant, I don't know if this was applied for before the delegation did the budget or after. If it's after.
Does it have a date on it?
It does not, it just says 2014. And this one, this says completion date April 1st, starting date October 1st, 2014. So is October 1st, 2014 before the delegation does their public hearings on the
Yes, it would have been, because we have it on December 1st.
right,
Well,
so
with the first week of December, yeah.
I don't know about
So
the
that
Homeland
one's okay,
Security.
then.
Correct, yeah.
But that one, which one is that
This is
now?
the Homeland Security, this is for the communication
And that's
system.
regarding the console?
Yeah,
Communications,
I mean.
yeah, the consoles in the dispatch center.
right. Oh, it is the dispatch center.
Yes.
I thought it was for towers and stuff. So you can have these back.
Okay.
The sheriff is waiting for a signature from the commissioners on that top one for the radars, so he can get that application in. Sounded like it was a first come, first serve
Yes, it
type
is.
grant, so
It is.
he's waiting for
Yeah,
that.
I think on that radar one, it is a first come, first serve as to when the applications go in. So if you got the original, I guess we better have it. I'll have to talk with the sheriff about it.
But we
About
should
that-
ask, excuse me.
About that Raider, is there a due date on it? When is it due? The Raider grant?
It just says project period October 1st, 2014 through May 1st, 2015. That's all it says. And I suppose what has to happen is if this grant for the radar detectors was asked for or applied for after the delegation approved the budget, then this, according to the law as I read it and understand it, needs a public hearing.
Both of them need public hearing?
I would say this one because this is after. I believe the Homeland Security grant was. I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, we need to know that before we go forward with that.
Well, there's no date on that, right?
Not the Homeland Security one that I could see of. It just says 2014. It just says 2014.
Okay, we should be able to have a public hearing on it next week? Is that right?
You mean the radar detectors?
Well, if you say, reporting from the committee, that we need to have public hearings, I'm saying we should be able to have one next week then, to clarify, or to hold a public hearing on each one of those.
You
Correct?
should, after we find out if that's what has to happen, because I don't recall the Homeland Security grant being discussed by the delegation. So I don't know if they've appropriated this money. I don't know if this is new revenue coming in or old revenue. I don't know.
Well, at one point in time, they did approve it, but we didn't get the grant. And that may have been a year ago.
It
right?
was right in the middle of the last budget season. Yeah.
Yeah. It was sent in, but again, first come, first served. We didn't get it in, or something happened, we didn't get the grant. So I know it was talked about at the delegation meeting a year ago. Whether that covers this year or not, I don't know. It's the same type of grant, same request form, just a different year. So would your committee recommend that we have a public hearing still on it, or
Our
where do we
committee,
stand?
speaking for the committee, I would recommend that we need to come with a formal process to process grants, because by listening to this communication, it seems like we're not clear. And that has to be clear. If the law says you need to provide for a public hearing, then that would be important. So we need to have some type of a formal process to do this,
Okay.
because we are applying for a lot of grants, and it seems to be accelerating, and there's no process to review where the money's coming from.
Okay,
And there are details within the Homeland Security grant that still really don't have a question. One was the stipulation about data collection. We didn't get an answer to that.
yeah.
So I think we need to better review our grants that we apply for and have a formal process for public review.
All right, we'll have a public hearing as soon as we can figure out the timing, if it's next week or if it has to be the following week. I don't know do you know what the RSA says for a public hearing, what the notice time has to be?
One or more supplemental public hearings may be held at any time before the annual or special meeting, subject to the 7-day notice requirement.
7 day?
So, well, we have to make sure we understand this RSA, because it was difficult to find the RSA that the county needed an audit.
Yeah,
But that took some digging, so
yeah,
I believe that not only the committee, but the county needs to understand this RSA better, so we don't do more or less than we're supposed to.
well, we ought to do more
I agree.
if we can.
Yes, I just want to add something. A while ago, I brought up the RSA about grants that need a public hearing. But later, the response from Commissioner Sorensen was, it is not for counties. So what are we doing now? Is it still now? Did somebody check into that? If it applies to counties?
Applies.
I believe you were
Grants.
talking about the auditing.
No, I brought also about the grants. I brought up an RSA, and I read the RSA for grants. If we accepting a grant, that you need to have a public hearing. But then later I was said, Commissioner Sorensen said, no, it was not for counties. And I believe that Mrs. Stevens even said that it was not for counties. So what are we doing now? Did somebody check into that?
Well,
So does this apply now for counties?
To me, I don't think it would hurt anything. It provides more information about the grant. So I have no problem in having a public hearing regarding both those grants requests.
RSA 32:5 is budget preparation, so it explains the governing body's responsibilities during budget preparation. And under section 3, it says, all appropriations recommended shall be stipulated on a gross basis, showing anticipated revenues from all sources, including grants, gifts, bequests, and bond issues, which shall be shown as offsetting revenues to appropriations affected.
I'm pretty sure that was done a year ago. I don't think it was done for the 2014 budget. I think it was done for the 2013 budget. Sheriff went through the delegation to get that approval. It hasn't been done, or wasn't done, I don't believe, I'll have to ask him, for the 2014 budget.
And to be fair to the sheriff, if he has a competitive grant that comes in, that's why we need a formal process, so it can go through the process quick. It could go to you, to the committee, get reviewed, you get your report, he gets the signature or not,
Yeah.
and then it goes through a process. We have nothing now.
Does the committee want to put that process together for a
That's-
draft?
That's what the committee is working on, a
Okay.
formal process to review grants. Hopefully,
Okay.
the entire state will adopt it, because there is nothing.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, that would be good. Because most of the time, the people are uninformed about grants and what string shot tests and what is precisely the content. They think it is a grant and they just grab it.
Okay, I'll take those. I will check with the sheriff as to the standings, where that, and if we have to, you got 7 days to post it, right, for a hearing, for a public hearing? So it'd have to be posted today if it's done next Wednesday. I'll check with the sheriff to find out when the date would be, whether it'd be the 22nd or the 29th. On the 29th, it might be questionable whether there's a meeting or not, so look on the website to make sure. I know the 3 unions are meeting on that day, one at 11, one at 1, and one at 3. We still might be able to have a meeting first thing in the morning on the 29th, which means we could have the hearing at that time also. So let me check with the sheriff regarding those 2 grants. And if anybody has any items for the agenda for our meetings, I'd be glad to accept any ideas you might have. If you want to have other people in that we don't have in, feel free to bring it up. Okay? Got anything else?
I have an additional question. Does Carroll County pay annual dues to the New Hampshire Association of
Yes.
Counties? How much is that, roughly?
I want to say $10,000.
You've been to the meetings, correct?
Yes. I'm past president. Yep.
I noticed on their website they have steering committees for legislative priorities or lobbyists. How does the funding stay separate, since you're not supposed to use tax dollars to lobby? And the New Hampshire Association of Counties actually has a steering committee who opposes or approves legislation. How does that process occur, and how do they keep that money separate?
I am not aware of a steering committee. At least they haven't met. I know the executive director, who we don't have one right now, and probably won't have one until sometime in November. But that executive director watches all bills that go through legislation that may have an effect on county dollars or has an effect on the county. And he or she sends that out to everybody saying, look, this is going to have an effect on county money or on county governing. And that's what that director does. I'm not aware of a steering committee. I could be wrong. It may be the Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners, not the Board of Commissioners, but the New Hampshire Association.
The Executive Council? There's like an executive
No, not the
branch.
Executive Council, because that's everybody. The Council of Commissioners, made up of all the commissioners in the state, take action on any financial matters of the association. They look at the budget, any expenses, any legal fees, it's up to that council, which George McGlaris happens to be the president, he's out of Stratford County. Any action taken has to go through that council regarding any financial business of the association. The executive committee, to me, I always thought it was backwards. I thought the executive committee would be a small group, perhaps made up of officers and maybe a few others. But the executive committee of the Hampshire Association is everybody. So whenever any action is taken, changing bylaws, the executive committee has to vote on it, which includes 5 representatives from each county, including commissioners. And they make up the executive committee. So, your question then is regarding the legislative steering committee, right?
It appears to me that they have paid lobbyists on their staff that helps them
No.
with those legislative priorities.
No, you only have 2 people. One is a secretary and the other one is the executive director. That's the only 2 people that are paid on the New Hampshire Association of Counties.
Well, I invite you to look at their website,
Yep.
because they have a complete legislative steering committee. where
Okay.
It's staffed, and there's a lot of federal involvement in it, and this is a public comment at this
Yeah.
point.
Yep.
It appears to me that it could undercut our elected representation in the state, because the commissioners are supposed to represent the people. They're going off to the New Hampshire Association of Counties, and they are being approached, influenced, lobbied by federal and outside forces. They have a legislative priorities team which has letters that they issue to legislators in this state and in Washington to, yes, sometimes it may benefit the county to save money, but there's also other issues that it approves and disapproves that has nothing to do with us. It has more to do with agendas. So it would be important for everybody and the public to go on their website and look at that and judge for themselves. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ed. It may be difficult to find that information out now because we don't have an executive director. She passed away a couple of weeks ago. But George McGlaris would know. Okay, anything else to be brought up under non-public, under
Public.
public input? If not, I plan on going to look at the hoop house. I'm going to try to walk the wellness trail to find out what needs to be done there. And I have a union meeting tomorrow. Regarding all three unions, starting at 9 o'clock, running through, well, it's all day, running through 3 o'clock anyway. So, hearing no further public input, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
Yes, motion to adjourn at 9:33.
I would second it. All those supporting the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And so voted.